Baby, keep on moving when the world gets you down. Sometimes I feel I'm losing, treading water, treading ground. So listen carefully, and when you hear that loving sound, run to it. Run to it that makes you whole. Tip the edge and then let go. Be dead afraid of the unknown and run. Run to it. Be dead afraid of the unknown and run to it. If this story is about anything, it's about being shit scared and doing it anyway. Over the summer of 2020, I embraced this unknown and embarked on Te Araroa, the long pathway, which is considered the world's toughest through hike, spanning a vast and varied terrain over 3,000 kilometres from the northernmost to the southernmost point of Aotearoa, New Zealand. It took me about 4.5 months to walk its length, and while walking I cried at the trees and I screamed at the ocean and I cursed at the fucking supplejack vines and I lost 3.5 toenails and about 7 kilos, and I found hope and connection and healing. And along the way I wrote songs and stories to the rhythm of my broken heart and my walking feet. Departure is kind of a constant thing. We're constantly departing and arriving from one breath to the next, from one word, from this life to whatever is next. So to start this story, I want to share a truth about my departure. And it's a truth that I lied to protect on more than a few occasions in TA discussions, and I don't like lies, and I'm not a stranger to them, and that's not the truth. The truth is, I never actually saw the starter post. So this iconic silver and yellow signpost stands at the northernmost point and the southernmost point of Aotearoa, and it's very much a tourist attraction to take photos with, and also a TA walker practice that you get a shot of you all fresh and ready at the first post and then like a feral creature at the other one. Well, in my defense, when you begin in the north, you head out onto this trail and then you head north to the first post, then backtrack, beginning your journey south down the beach. So the morning I began, I had white fog and horizontal rain in my face and my hood tucked to my eyebrows, and I took one look at my map, saw the backtrack, and I thought, well, fuck that, I'm just going to go that way. So I never actually started at the beginning. But it's amazing that I walked in the right direction at all, because this departure for me, it wasn't some well-planned adventure travel. It wasn't a romantic step into the wild. This was mid-pandemic, and I had just made the most difficult and potentially most courageous choice of my life to leave my marriage, my home, my community, my life, and return to the safety of Aotearoa to begin again. And I was full of blind hope and sickening grief. And ice cream straight from the tub, and burgers and cheap Coke and whiskey delivered to the door so many times I started getting discounts. Anyway, 4 months and 9 days after I departed the life that I'd spent a decade building, at the northernmost point of Te Ika a Maui o Aotearoa, on the most blustery November morning I could have chosen, I started walking. And I was the very definition of shit scared and doing it anyway. If I had breath enough, I'd swim down and never come up. This whiskey is my drug. I have climbed, crashed and landed. I've been blind to what I've been handed. And I've loved him just as much as them. And I've got love on top of dark water. I've got love on top of hope, on top of dark water. If I had wings to fly, if I had golden eyes, if I belonged to the wild outside, I would swim, I would sink if it gave me the thrill I seek. I would love you just as much as me. And I've got love on top of dark water. I've got love on top of hope, on top of dark water. I've got love on, fear on, pain on, blame on, joy on, hope on, clear skies and dark water. If I had breath enough, I'd swim down and never come up. This whiskey is my drug. I learned very quickly just how much I'd stepped outside of my comfort zone. Within the first 4 days walking on 90 Mile Beach, I had blisters like trampolines covering my feet. And the choice that I've made to do this, to walk alone for 5 months, hit me hard. Eventually, though, I do find my rhythm, and I find that my rhythm is not that I'm a hiker with a set intention to get from A to B, but rather my rhythm is that I stop a lot. I wander. I scuff my feet in the earth for the piwakawaka and the robin. I explore textures. I stand for 20 minutes at a time to watch the acrobatics of a tui and a dragonfly battle it out through the Cody forest. I cross estuary, beach, river, road, mountain, mud, gorse, paddock. I watch Ranganui, our sky father, don majestic robes of pink and purple and blood red, and Marama, our moon, wax and wane. I contemplate the necessity of the artist and what the fuck I'm doing here and why and what am I going to do when I finish. But I hold on to a quote that I love that goes, "Life expands in proportion to your courage." And so I walk on. And each time that I consider giving up, and there are many times along the way, I dig deep, I find my snacks, and then my courage, and I sing to myself, ooh, walk on, fighting strong. Take me weak, take me breathing fire to your soul. I walk on. I walk on. Save me from the river when my tears threaten the dam. Feed me, mother, silence at your hand. Hold me in the morning light, hold me in your song. Take me gentle, take me seething, spitting in the sand. I walk on, I walk on, I walk on, and on and on and on and on and on. And on I walk. And while I'm acknowledging my courage, I must acknowledge my fear. For where there is possibility for courage, there is fear. There have been few times in my life where I've felt compelled to pray. And don't get me wrong, I count my blessings. And I like to keep a sense of wonder alive in all things, but to a particular deity or entity or God, I have very rarely sought guidance or protection or reassurance from fear in the form of prayer. Until I walked solo over the Araroa Ranges. So this is the first major mountain range of Te Araroa Trail. And I'm 13 hours into my day's walk when I reach the first peak just here. I'm going this way. So I get up to the top. It's 13 hours into my walk, so it's been quite a big day, and the sun is setting at the top of this mountain. The sunset is absolutely stunning. It's swaths of pastel colour, and the mountains ahead are these crisp silhouette on silhouette, and I am exhausted, but this sunset is stunning. Shaky knees, feeling a bit hungry. Sunset though is absolutely stunning. Yeah, the sun's setting. Now I'm on top of a mountain. And I got to get down this mountain and then up and over the next saddle and then right down into tree line and then through the forest out the other side and to the hut. And I have 30 minutes of light. So this, my friends, is where my journey with prayer began. And those 30 minutes later, when I crossed Butcher's Saddle in the dark, I goddamn prayed. And going through the forest in the pitch black and my head torch starts spluttering from low battery, I prayed. And the next day, walking 8 hours in the pissing rain and then scrambling down this path that is now a waterfall to get to Nichols Hut where there's not a scrap of dry firewood, I prayed. And inching my way along these narrow ridge-top tracks with a death drop either side of 1,200 metres and it's white fog like I can't see you in front of me and the wind is screaming at me, I prayed. And that night, going through the forest in the dark, when my head torch did hit the forest floor, and it came alive, seething with life that I could not possibly have imagined during the day, I prayed. In awe at the complete transformation of my world from these exposed raw cliff tops to this twisted, close-set murkwood of a forest where every limb is dripping in its best moss shawl, I prayed. And reaching Wai to Waiwai and jumping in at the coldest, deepest part of that river and feeling my fear paralysed in the water, I prayed. And reaching the church on the other side and finding my dear friend Toby waiting for me with warm pizza and cold beer, I thanked God. To walk this section from Palmerston North City over the mountains and to the church at River Parr took me 5 days, and 2 of those days I had the company, whether I liked it or not, of a very enthusiastic, very young section hiker who appointed himself my guardian and protector and begrudgingly shared some ginger nut biscuits and talked incessant because he hadn't yet learned to listen to the forest, he didn't hear me when I retreated from his pace to sing my prayer to the poorest trunks. Oh Lord, won't you protect me? Oh Lord, won't you protect me? 'Cause I've seen too many things that I shouldn't have seen. Oh Lord, won't you protect me? Oh friend, won't you listen to me? Oh friend, won't you listen to me? 'Cause I need to tell somebody all of my hopes and my dreams. Oh friend, won't you listen to me? Oh baby, you can love only me. Oh baby, you can love only me. 'Cause I've been rejected by too many, you see. So baby, you can love only me. Oh mother, won't you shelter me and build me a home? Won't you need me, feed me, keep me safe and far from harm? Won't you guide me, teach me, show me the true meaning of love? Oh mother, won't you build me a home? Oh teacher, won't you redirect me? Oh teacher, won't you redirect me? 'Cause I've been crippled by anxiety. So teacher, won't you redirect me? Oh mother, won't you shelter me and build me a home? Won't you need me, feed me, keep me safe and far from harm? Won't you guide me, won't you teach me, show me the true meaning of love? Oh mother, won't you build me a home? Oh mother, won't you build me a home? Oh mother, won't you build me a home? So this prayer of mine came in fear and in joy over the Tararoa Ranges, and it's a strange combination of emotion that brought about that sense of being comfortable within the discomfort for me. And as I continue on and I complete Te Ika a Maui, our North Island, and I cross the strait to the South Island section, Te Waipunamu, I begin to find an intimacy with this fear. And I start to understand that aloneness and loneliness are not the same thing. And that the art of solitude is in finding that space and being intimate with it, between alone and lonely. I knew my solitude most intimately at campsites and huts where 90% of the time I was alone. And there's this amazing awareness, nowness that comes with packing and unpacking your everything every day in a different place. It removes you from material attachments like no Marie Kondo technique has ever been able to do. You pack everything that is your home into a pack. You carry your home on your back. And what is home? I think it's different for everyone. For some people, it's people. Maybe it's places. Maybe it's in the senses for you. On trail, home very much becomes the necessities. It's shelter, nourishment, safety. And once you have those things in your pack, you can start to think about adding a luxury item. And there's a broad spectrum to how people interpret what is an appropriate luxury item. There's ultralight hikers who don't even carry spare socks. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, like the woman Philippa I met who carried a traditional heavy wooden walking staff the entire way. Or the man I met who carried a shovel strapped to his pack. Not a trowel, a fucking shovel. Because he said to me, if you're going to shit in the woods, you might as well do it properly. Maybe that's really considerate. My luxury items were books. I devoured volumes of poetry and philosophy and theology and fantasy and would swap one out for the next as soon as I'd finished. And I also carried my notebook and pencil. And I had many a helpful person tell me how I could just load audiobooks or have a Kindle or something, but it's not the same. Books to me are my home. I pop a book in my tent pocket and I'm home. I go on holiday, the first thing I do is take out those chosen books and put them on the bedside table wherever I am, and I'm home. I move into a new house or an apartment, and sure, I can make the bed and I can hang clothes, but it's not until those shelves are filled with volumes that I am home. So my first home that I built a bookcase into was a transient home, a van by the name of Elma. And it was in her rambling metal case that I first explored the eucalypt wilds of Australia, and I started to learn the lesson of just how diverse the definition of home can be. Like driving these winding, narrow roads out Agnes Waters somewhere, and there's nothing but ocean and scrub as far as we could see, and then of course we overheat and break down at the one point where there is a tiny break in the scrub, out of which comes running a man. And he's no shirt, no shoes, all hair, and he goes, "You guys are doing the crazy hippie thing! I am the crazy hippie thing!" Fucking was. Omra and his family of 6 hosted us at their home for 3 nights, which was a grassy headland overlooking the ocean and one ripped up tent. In the wilds of Mullumbimby, I met Moksha, who had crescent moons tattooed to both her cheeks and silver hair to her knees, and her home she built with her own 2 hands from huge bamboo posts and dried animal skins for a floor that blended with the red dirt. In Queensland, looking for a rock pool swimming spot in a place called Utopia. Yes, it does exist. We took a wrong turn and we end up on this rough as guts road, and there's no turning Elma the van around. We just have to keep going until finally we pop out in this patch of green in the middle of the bush, and there is this blue painted wagon wheel windowed mud brick cottage. It's a home fit for a wild woman. And as we're frantically trying to turn around, because you live in the bush so people don't show up on your doorstep, a wild woman steps out. "Oi, you's lost." "Kia ora, I'm so sorry, we're turning around." "Oh, you's Kiwis?" "Yeah." "Oh, yeah? I just rolled a joint, put the kettle on, you better come in, eh?" We stayed a month. The first time. Auntie Lena, as she became known to me, became another home for me. One to which I returned many times over the next decade plus, and where I learned that home for me now is as much in the smell of eucalypt as it is in the sight of harakeke in bloom. Auntie is with the stars now, but she visits me in dreaming. And she reminds me of the many lessons that she moved in me, like what is home and what's important to carry with you, and what it is to hold in reality, our dreaming. Be a dreamer with me. Come climb the tallest of trees, just to see what we can see. Be a dreamer with me. If I'm a dreamer alone, how will I write sweet songs about the ones to whom my heart belongs? If I'm a dreamer alone, so be a dreamer with me. Come sail the deep blue sea. We'll make friends with the anemones. Be a dreamer with me. If I'm a dreamer alone, I'll never be able to show just how deep my roots have grown. If I'm a dreamer alone, be a dreamer with me. Just like Peter Pan and Wendy say to growing up, no, that's not for me. Baby, I'm just here to dream. Say to growing up, no, that's not for me. 'Cause baby, I'm just here to dream. Losing Auntie Lena changed the story, as grief does. Changes things, changes our plans, changes the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves in the world, changes even in its own state, grief, I think. That classic offering that we give to people who are moving through grief of time heals never felt right to me. Time doesn't heal grief. Grief changes with time. And every grief that we experience is totally new and totally different than anybody else's. And often it's accompanied by this accumulative wave of past grief, of past losses for us to relive, to remember, to repurpose, to fortify. As if the otherworldly beauty of the Blue Lake and the Waiu Pass aren't intense enough as it is, I find myself at this point in the trail hit by that accumulative wave of past loss. So there's this insanely steep scramble to get up to the top of the Waiu Pass, and I distinctly remember mistaking hikers ahead of me for mountain goats. I could not fathom that they were people up there and that was where I was going. But I was. And about halfway up, I started to hear the voice to keep me going of my beloved friend Kate echoing in my ear. She used to chant when we would run in Wellington from the city to Hataitai, light and easy, slow and steady, with every footfall. Not that fast, I can't run that fast. It's been 15 years. And sometimes I find it hard to admit that I find it difficult to remember Kate's face, except from those still images and photographs. And yet for some reason her voice, this tone and the cadence of particular things that she would say and the shape of her laughter, it's like I heard it yesterday. So atop the Waiu Pass, I received news of my beloved pet chicken, Jean, having died. And I cried for her. And that cumulative wave of losses hits me full force, and I cry for the loss of my marriage and the loss of myself within it. I cry for the loss of my right to say no. I cry for the loss of my home, my community, my friends, my music, my career. I cry for Gabriel. I cry for the gratitude of this huge space that I've been gifted to release in, and for the strangers who hold me in that space. I cry for the impermanence of everything. Walking in this grief state is like dream walking. I decided it's most akin to those dreams of flying. I'm sure lots of us have had them. My flying dreams are varied. Sometimes they're long, low glides along the ground, and sometimes I control an object, but more often than not, they're this really heavy run and then push up off the ground to get height and flight. And even when I'm up, I have to grab hold of treetops and posts to keep myself going. It's this crazy sensation of being free and weighted at the same time. It's more like a suspension than a flight. So as I walk on, I weave stories of suspension into my step, of being once attached, of losing roots. Feel like I've been stuck in a trap, a loop of haze and Netflix and naps. And I've said before about the stories that play in my head that take me hours to forget. They're like losing roots, like losing roots, like losing roots, like losing roots. And these reels that play in my mind, they're like some kind of waking nightmare. And I'm pretty sure they're what the devil took and trade. They leave me plucked out and dropped in mid-air, like losing roots, like losing roots, like losing roots, like losing roots. This world is pretty fucked up. I gotta smile so I don't cry. And I'm not sure that I have that much to offer, but I know there's time to try. And if I have the power to play these stories so dark, maybe I can play the light. And instead of a waking nightmare, this could be my reason to fly. Like I barely recall, but for the grief that I moved through. But move through it I did. Could it have been imagining my hound at my heel? Could it have been the songs of the tall grasses swaying in the breeze and exploding with the thrum of insects? Could it have been mountains made kings and queens in crowns of white mist glittering with morning gold? Or in the impossible pops of fluorescent colour in an otherwise grey riverbed? Could it have been the shock of loss, or the gratitude for ever having had it all? Could it have been life brought to acute attention for having nothing to do but walk on? Ooh, I walk on. Ooh, I walk on. When I'm married, I took my husband's name. Already had my own name. But too often the story goes that we shift our identity to suit the needs of others. Crossing the Ahuriri River saw me 2,520 kilometres along my journey on foot. 8 months into the separation that would eventually leave me broke and sleeping in my mum's sewing room. And just a tingling feeling into understanding how quietly abuse can sneak up on you. I was ready to leave that name behind. I arrive at Top Timaru Hut, and it's been a sweltering few days of walking, and I really would like to be alone. I drop my bags and I go to the river, and on my return there are other hikers there. There's a woman about my age. She's going the opposite direction to me. She's slight and strong and wild-haired, and she has these sharp features and seeking eyes. And, I mean, we're quite literally in Tolkien country. My best guess is that she's an elf. So we barely speak, and I'm grateful for her being there. She allows me to kind of slip into my melancholic silence, and she takes the brunt of the conversation with the annoyingly happy day hikers who also arrived to share the 6-bunk hut with us. It's stifling hot that night, and I find myself going to the river again and again to cleanse my skin in the cooling rush, and to cry and to contemplate this change of name and what of my identity has been smothered in doing so. I barely sleep. And the next day we all go our separate ways, and my step is set in frustration. So at 10 a.m. I decide, fuck this, it's lunchtime. And I sit down with the intention to eat my entire chocolate supply right here, right now. So I'm pulling things out of my bag, and this piece of paper goes flying. And it's a letter. This magical woman of the mountains, and I described her so many times to so many hikers, north and southbound. Nobody saw her. Elf. This magical woman of the mountains wrote me a letter and slipped it into my pack when I wasn't looking. She wrote, "I don't know your name, but I see your pain, and I want you to know that I'm going to hold you in my heart, and I know you'll be okay." She signed it, "Whatever your name is, know that you are loved." And she didn't sign her name. This unprompted gesture in this unexpected moment, in this unremarkable patch of dirt that I'm sat in, moved in me a release and a reclamation of my name. She's been walking from sunrise on rock and river, mountain path. Her body's tired, her feet resign their step to reach her camp at last. Cloaked in sunset, Skin is cleaned by river's hands, and here she meets a woman painted blue as sky, silence for smiles and tears for eyes. What's your story? And how does your name carry who you are? The woman blue replies, it's you, it's moon, it's rain, it's stars. So long to waiting, waiting at the storm. Turn your face to thunder, maiden mother crone. She turns her gaze up to the night as woman asks, and what of you? Are you named for who you are, for who you were, or what you do? Cloaked in darkness, skin is raised by hands of wind and cool embrace. And it's here she whispers to the night, to a name she'd loved goodbye. Voices raising, feet to the earth, beating out her heart, and freedom till the morning comes, she and the woman dance. So long to waiting, waiting at the storm. Turn your face to thunder, maiden mother crone. So long to waiting for the new unknown. Listen to your hunger, maiden mother crone. She sleeps in peace at dawn's approach, while woman blue slips her a note. Into her travelling bag it reads, who you are is what you'll be. So long to naming all your broken bones. Answer to your hunger, go and walk alone. She's been walking from sunrise on a rock and river mountain pass. Her hands touch paper, finds the note, the words of which herself she wrote. Start your story as often as you're moved to do. And now as she walks, she sings her names, Mother, Maiden, Crone, and Woman Blue. So long to waiting, waiting at the storm. Turn your face to thunder, maiden mother crone. So long to naming all your broken bones. Answer to your hunger, maiden mother crone. Turn your heart to wonder. Your name is your own. The Timaru River that I bathed in again and again on that sleepless night of release and reclaim, I walked through half the following day also. See, water on trail defines your daily plan. It dictates your pace, your meal choice, the laundry situation, the mosquitoes. Water is cleaner, clearer, life force, reviver, healer. Water is God. I remember my first interaction with water on the trail in Waikoropupu stream. It was perfect bliss in solitude. Canoeing the Whanganui River in raucous laughter and then complete silence but for the kick, kick, kick of the kōtare, the kingfisher, bouncing off the cavernous river walls. I was enamored by the change of colour in the Richmond Ranges, this icy blue and grey palette, while Lake Pukaki was a perfect mirror to the mountains surrounding. The whistling of the whio, our blue duck, greeted me on the Mangatapopo River, and the light fractured, splitting rainbows over the thundering Travers Falls held me in hypnosis. At the northernmost point of Te Ika a Maui, at Cape Reinga, the water meets as two oceans and provides here a jumping place for Māori ancestors travelling from one life into the next. And in the south at Motupohoi, the olive seaweed is thick and seething against the black rocks, telling old stories. River swimming on trail was just another exercise in my comfort with discomfort. And at each cleansing dip, I find that I can allow another piece of that fear and hope and anger be taken by the flow. Until by the end, no fear, named or otherwise, can stop me from stripping off and jumping in at the sight of a body of water to hold me. Lead me to the river, baby, steady as she goes, collecting and discarding river flows. I pulled apart the pieces, searching for me, scared to continue, the result might be like blood under skin, unalterable. Collecting and discarding the river flows. The river does not alter, baby. It's water, earth, and stone. But bend and stretch and grow and change direction, steady as she goes. Steady but always changing, the river flows. And loving you was all there was to it. So lead me to the river, baby, swift and steady in its resolve. And if your hands don't open wide enough, I'll find some other hands to hold, collecting and discarding the river flows. And loving you was all there was to it. story I wanted to tell you was about Cheryl's Place. I stayed at Cheryl's Place in Russell, which is kind of a trail icon. And I had the great pleasure of being able to go on a tour with her around the island as well. And while she was telling me all about the history of the place, she mentioned to me that most of the TA walkers that she'd hosted over the last 10 years were either looking for love or looking to lose love, and which was I. And I remember feeling great relief when I answered without hesitation that I was neither. That although I have lost love and I will again, the one thing that I know that I have in abundance is love. And that's really everything I need. Hello to courage that comforts rage. Hello to strength that can be drawn in darker days. Hello to the rummage for a space free of pain. Hello to gentle hearts forgiving us our shame. I have everything I need. I have everything I need. Hello to solitude where loneliness ends. Hello to agony and to starting again. Hello to silence. Hello to song. Goodbye to what's left behind. Hello to moving on. I have everything I need. I have everything I need. And when I fall, I bleed. And when I cry at night, I curl up my knees. And when I give love, I hope love comes to me. And when I sing, I won't forget to breathe. Breathe. I have everything I need. I have everything I need. And so, a casual 4.5 months later, I arrive at the end of the trail. Amidst the celebrations, I take a moment to just stare out at the ocean. I find at the end of the trail, I know who I am. And I know that I have a huge space of me yet to become. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing next. But I know I'm okay to do it alone. The poet Rilke says it's good to be alone because solitude is difficult. And that something is difficult is just one more reason to do it. And so, at my arrival, I find myself ready to depart. And I walk on. Ooh, I walk on. Ooh, I Thank you all so much. This is this show's gone from Aotearoa Fringe to Edinburgh Fringe and now here in Naarm. And thank you so much for being the most amazing couple of audiences of the whole year of Fringes so far. It's incredible. Thank you. Enjoy your evening, whatever you're up to. Thank you.